Okay, good morning, guys. So this morning I had a craving for some waffles. So today we're gonna make some mini waffles, and I have written down my recipe. I have our bowls, all of the measuring cups, and all of our ingredients are over here. So to start, we need our biggest bowl, and these are specific to the Dash Mini Waffle Maker. These are just original. I need 1 cup of flour, so I have my flour container. And you're going to find the opening, and you're going to get 1 cup. So you're going to get your 1 cup measuring cup, and then you're just going to do this. And you have to make sure that it's exactly 1 cup, no less, no more. So I have my 1 cup of flour, which is now in the container. So I'm going to put that measuring cup aside, put this back in. And I'm going to move this off to the side so that way nothing is in my way for while I'm doing this. Okay, continuing, you need 1 tablespoon of sugar. So I have my 1 tablespoon measuring, and I have my sugar. So I bring my sugar over, pop that open, grab this, and it's totally okay if nobody's watching. I just really crave some of these. So put that aside. And obviously you guys can always watch this later. I didn't give you guys a heads up that I was going to be doing a live today, so that's okay. And then instead of doing baking powder, because we ran out, I'm going to be doing a mix of baking soda and vinegar. So for baking soda, I need 1/4 teaspoon. So let me go get that measuring real quick. Okay, so I have my measuring thing for it. So I'm going to do exactly the amount that they're asking for. Pop that in there, along with 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar. And then I'm going to use the same thing as this. So we need to do the vinegar. It smells disgusting, but it's going to do the trick to make it liquefy, to make it acidic. If you guys can hear it, it's already sizzling in there. So pop that aside, and then I need to get the salt. Whew, that is some strong vinegar. Okay, now I need to grab my salt. And most recipes don't call for okay, with salt, I don't measure how they ask me to because it's one of these. So I just measure with my heart. And it's never too salty, never undersalted. So they always work out. Okay, now I need 1 egg to go in here. And a lot of people don't use this one ingredient that I'm going to be using on top of this egg. So on top of using an egg, I like to use vanilla. This recipe does not call for vanilla, and I don't measure it. I just pour it in, and we figure out how much I'm going to do at that point. It's never the same amount. And then I need milk, which they asked for 1 cup of milk. So I'm going to grab my 1 cup measure. So I'm going to pop these dishes into the sink. Grab my 1 cup. So you guys can actually see, let me put this down a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing instead of watching me. So now that you have your measurer, you're not going to shake up your milk because that makes it difficult. So you're just going to pour your 1 cup, and you're going to pour it in with your egg and your vanilla. And along with your egg and vanilla, if you choose to do vanilla, you're also going to do 2 tablespoons of butter. So 2 tablespoons of butter literally is so simple. It doesn't look that complicated. But if you're not using a scale, because sometimes you can transfer off how much that 2 tablespoons of butter would weigh, you just take your butter stick, and you're going to take about this much butter. That's about 2 tablespoons. So then you're just going to take your butter that you have and just pop it in with your butter or with your egg, your milk, and your vanilla if you choose to do vanilla. Now let me get a whisk so I can whisk that up. So let me get a whisk, and then I also need a spatula. So now that I have my whisk and my spatula, I'm going to put the butter aside because we no longer need the butter. And butter is going to go over here with our other ingredients. And now I'm going to take my whisk and I'm going to mix all of the egg, the butter, the vanilla, the milk. All of that is going to get mixed together in here. So once that is all mixed, you're just going to mix it all up and it's going to be really good. So it's kind of chunky right now. The butter is kind of chunky. So you want to make sure that none of the butter leaves chunks. It needs to be exactly like smooth, no chunks of butter, no chunks of anything needs to be in there because then you'll get chunky batter and that won't taste very good when you're eating your muffin and when you're eating your stuff later. So now that we have all of this, I'm going to mix this once I make sure that there are no chunks of butter, which there still are. So I need to mix this in. And my egg has been whisked. And for the egg, you don't use just egg whites and you don't use just the egg yolk. You use the entire egg, obviously except for the shell because that's common sense. So now that this is done, it should look something like this. And now I'm going to just pour this in with my flour and all of that to make the batter. So now that it's all poured in, I use my whisk again and I mix everything in together like this. So it smells pretty bad if you're not using baking powder. So I recommend using baking powder for this. The baking soda and the vinegar will do the same thing. It causes to have an acidic effect on it, but obviously it won't, it'll still taste the same as if you were to use baking powder. It's just different. There are a lot of different things you can use to make your stuff. And today, because my mini mixer is snowmen, I am going to add some food coloring to this to make them more festival. So now I'm going to put my whisk in this bowl while I get the food coloring. And there are a lot of different food coloring options that we have. But today I think I'm going to go with some red. So find your food coloring, mix it a little bit, like shake it up a little bit, and then you're only going to add a couple drops and then mix it in. And then if you want a darker color, then you can add more drops. So I'm going to add about 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 right there. And then I'm going to take my whisk again, and I'm going to just mix this in. So you're just going to mix your food coloring in with your stuff there. And right now it looks kind of pink, so I'm going to add some more red dye to it to make it more red. I'm going to add 4 more drops. So that's 4 more little drops of this to make it hopefully just a little bit more red. And it's still just a little bit pink, but that's okay. It's a little bit darker, so we're going to make this work. So now that we have this, just finish mixing it in. So it's a darker pink. And now you're just going to check your consistency and make sure this is the consistency you want of the batter, and that's the consistency you want. You don't want it chunky. You want it liquidy, so that way you can literally just pick it up with your whisk and it'll all just fall off smoothly and amazingly. So I will be doing another segment this weekend about how to make my vanilla cupcakes for church. I will be selling them. If you are in Texas, go to 3011 US Boulevard in Pearland, Texas. And you can be there. And first service starts at 9:45. And second service starts at 10:15. So you can come to any of those ones. And I'm going to be using this, my spatula, to make sure that all of the batter gets off of the sides of my bowl. because I want to use every last piece of batter that I have in here. So now that the sides are all clean, I'm going to bring this over to the mixer. So now I'm going to take you guys over to the mixer, and we're going to put or not in the mixer, sorry, wrong words. We're going to put this into our waffle maker. So our waffle iron. So I'm going to bring you guys over there, and we're going to bring our batter. So it's a little mixer, and you can go online and search up Dash because that's the brand that I have. So this is the mixer. It's blue, and inside the plate is a mini snowman. You can get multiple different plates. You don't have to use the one that comes in the machine. You can go to not Dollar Store. You can go to Target, Walmart, Costco. They have different plates. So you're going to plug it into your wall socket, and you should see a blue light turn on that tells you that it's starting to cook. Now I'm going to open it while it's starting to heat up, and I'm going to go get my spray. So I use olive oil spray. You guys can use whatever spray you guys want to use. And I'm just going to spray a little bit here on the bottom and a little bit on the top, just to make sure those edges don't burn. So now that you have your oil sprayed, you're going to get a measuring cup of about a half of a tablespoon is what I would use to mix your batter. And now I'm just going to close this for just a few minutes. And while this decides to heat up, I'm going to explain how this will work. So you're going to take this and you're just going to get your batter. There's nothing on it right now, but you're going to get your batter and then you're going to pour it on here. If you feel like you need more batter, add more batter. But if you think that it's enough, don't add more. Don't add more. And I definitely recommend doing a half of a tablespoon just because it's a little bit of a bigger base than if you use something like a half of a tablespoon. Although this is the same thing, this is just a little bit bigger. And it doesn't feel like it, but that's because this base is bigger, while this base is smaller. So it's wider, but it's shorter. This is less wide, but it's taller down here. So I definitely recommend using this one. You can really use whichever ones you want. I know people that have used these to measure it, or people just take like these little cups that tell you how many ounces, millimeters, tablespoons, teaspoons, like all of those. The multi-measure cups. I've seen people use those. I've also seen people do like a 1 tablespoon, which that works too. It's just a little bit smaller because tablespoons are bigger than teaspoons. So now that she's heated up, we're going to open it because you can see the smoke kind of from the heat. You can take your batter, and I'm going to get my half of a tablespoon, and I'm going to pour it in. And I'm going to let it spread out. I think it needs more, so then I'm going to add some more. And I do about 3 of these when I'm making my waffles. So after I do my 3rd one, I close it down. Sometimes if I feel like I need to, I'll add more batter to it. Like I'll look at it and it needs more batter, so I'll just open it back up and I'll add a little bit more batter. Along the sides, I'll add some more just to make sure that it fills everything. And most people